Welcome to Lights Camera Author. I'm Jim Juno. Now, every celebrity story has a story behind the story. We see the red carpets, the movie premieres, the concert stages, and the magazine covers. But behind many of the biggest names in entertainment are people who help make the careers possible and protect them when things get complicated. My guest today has spent more than 4 decades on that side of the entertainment business. He's an attorney who has represented some extraordinary names in music and Hollywood, including John Candy, Robin Williams, the Rolling Stones, Bill Withers, and Waylon Jennings. But before he became an attorney to the stars, Clair Burrill was a musician himself. And now he's telling those stories in his new memoir, Attorney to the Stars, a memoir. And Claire joins us now on Lights Camera Author. Welcome, Claire, to the show.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Please tell me I'm pronouncing that last name right. Burrill?
Burrill is correct.
Burrill, thank you. Okay. That's right. You can call me Junot, okay? So anyway, well, let's begin with the title of the book, Attorney to the Stars. And certainly a title that gets people's attention. So when did you realize your career had actually turned you into a, quote, attorney to the stars, unquote?
Well, what happened, Jim, was I realized that I had a lot of very interesting and wonderful experiences just going on through practicing. Things were showing up by coincidences and so forth. Like in the very first chapter, John Candy showed up in my office looking for an attorney, and he didn't even have an appointment. And that just unraveled. But years later, after I looked back at all of the wonderful times I had had and experiences I enjoyed with these people, I started writing things down, and basically I was creating little anecdotal messages that I was going to literally give to my children. And then one thing led to the other, and a couple of other people asked me, "Well, you're writing this stuff down for your kids. Can we take a look at it?" And I shared
Mhm.
a couple of the chapters that I had written, and one of the guys was an author, and he said, "You know, Claire, I think there's a book here, you know." And I said, "Wow!" And so he introduced me to a bunch of people, a publicist, an editor, and so forth, and it helped me put the whole thing together.
Fantastic. Now, before the law, though, there was music.
Oh
And
yeah,
you played in rock bands and had aspirations of being a performer yourself. So how important was that experience
I think it
to the
was very
lawyer?
well. I think I think it was very important that I had that experience. I always liked performing. I played in a bunch of different bands in high school and college, and but late in my senior year in college, one of the members of the band that I was in said, "You know, the problem with the music business, it appears to me," he said, "is that it's feast or famine. You either go all the way to the top and you're a star, or you struggle and don't go anywhere." He said, "So I'm going to law school." And a year later, I went off into the Navy for 4 years as a commissioned officer, having attended Harvard on a Navy ROTC scholarship. And when I came out of the Navy and I hadn't been around the music for a while, I decided, well, maybe it is a good idea to go to law school. And so that's exactly what I did. But I never lost the love of the music, um, and just the entertainment business. And being once I got involved working with these people, it just was something very wonderful for me.
Did that give you an advantage, being the musician,
Well,
when you started representing?
I think it did in several respects, but it also gave me uh, uh, a feeling and a respect for them and their creativity that translated, I think, into my representation on a legal basis, such that I became not just an attorney to these people, but I actually developed some very important and wonderful friendships with clients. And I think that partly part of that was my respect for their creativity and how they had to work at their craft, and that if they were on top, they were on top in a business that was feast or famine.
Do you think that, well, how much of being an entertainment lawyer is actually crisis management?
Well, there's a little bit of that, but most of the time it's common sense that makes things work the best. And I think one of the things that I've done over the years in representing very important people in the entertainment business, very talented people, is I don't hide anything. I don't hold anything back. You're going to hear all the good news, but you're also going to hear the bad news. And I think I gained a lot of respect for that because I wasn't a yes man. I wasn't
Hmm.
trying to, butter anybody up. If I had some bad news, I would say this isn't the best news in the world, but we have to face it. And here's the alternatives. Here's what we can do.
Exactly. Now, millions of people, and we mentioned John Candy, your first meeting with him, how he came into your office without an appointment, and so did you send him away and say, "Hey, come back when you have an appointment"?
No, no. The interesting thing is I was there in the office and everybody else was at lunch except for the receptionist. And so I was the only attorney in the office at the time. And John was working on a movie, 1941 was the movie he was working on, Steven Spielberg's movie with uh,
Belushi and yeah.
Dan Aykroyd, yeah, Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi, the World War II send-up, if you will, movie. And it was Aykroyd who recommended to Spielberg that John Candy could play an important role in the would be more or less a cameo appearance, but it was John's first appearance and first time coming down to the United States to work in the movie industry. He had done quite well in television, but this was his chance to break into the movie industry. And he was very, very concerned about the fact that he had a manager back in Toronto, where he's originally from, and he didn't think the manager was doing the right thing for him. He didn't like what he was doing. He didn't think he knew anything about the movie business in the United States. So he mentioned that to one of the production assistants on the set of 1941. And she said, well, maybe you ought to talk to a lawyer. And he said, well, I'm, here's my first trip to California. I don't know any lawyers. But she said, well, I have a connection with this firm, very good guys. Gave him the name and the address, and he showed up. And
Hmm.
when he showed up, the receptionist said to me, "There's a guy here. He says he wants to see a lawyer. He doesn't have an appointment." I said, "Well, I'll come out and talk to him." I went out there, and there he was, and I had no idea who he was. I welcomed him into my office, and I said, "How can I help you?" And he said, "I want to fire my manager." And long story short, you could read the whole chapter, but at the end of the day, I fired his manager. And we became attorney and client, and eventually very good friends.
Another extraordinary person who you represented was Robin Williams. And, his public image is one of that or a human whirlwind where it's like he's always
Yeah,
on the go, mind thinking all the time.
all the
Uh,
time. He was never off. He was always on, and he had a quip every single time. He could be serious if he had to be, but most of the time he was on fire. He just had the world's incredible imagination. And this was another situation where he made a cameo appearance as Mork on Happy Days,
yes,
and that was as a result of uh, Jim Marshall, Gary
very much.
Marshall, the producer. His young son said, Dad, it's a good show, but you need a spaceman. And so Gary Marshall went out and got Mork, and then ABC Television wanted to spin off Mork into his own show.
Oh
But
my gosh.
but he was under contract to George Slaughter Productions to
Yes, he was
do,
on Laugh-In.
yeah, and Laugh-In too. There was going
Hmm.
to be Laugh In too. And so there was a fight. Could he leave George Slaughter and go to ABC for television? Well, ABC was fighting Slaughter. They both had big law firms, and Robin didn't have anybody. And they recommended the lawyers for ABC recommended he come and talk to us. And that's how he wound up our client.
Is there a particular Robin Williams memory that still makes you smile?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of them, but
Mhm.
he he I recite in the book a couple of times that are very important. Some of which are a little off color, I would say a little bit, but you know, whenever I had any kind of a conversation with him, uh, he just left me in stitches. He was just incredible imagination.
Amazing. And that's exactly how he comes across on the
Yes,
screen too.
absolutely, absolutely.
Now I want to switch gears a little bit here and talk rock and roll. The
Sure.
Rolling Stones.
Okay.
And now they broke onto the scene in 19, well, let's see here now, about I guess 1965 now, I believe, is when
I think it was 63 when they really came out.
63.
I think they did their first appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. I think that was in this fall of 63. And they did a tour of the United States, the very first tour of the United States. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oh, wait a minute. I'm confused. We're talking about the Rolling Stones.
Rolling Stones, yeah.
63, they came out with uh, some very, very big songs that led to their problem with Alan Klein, who was their manager. They
Mm.
woke up one day and found out that they didn't own anything.
Oh no.
They did, they they were well taken care of. I mean,
Yeah.
Klein would say to them, "You want to have breakfast in Brazil? It's okay with me. I'll fly you down there." But they didn't own any of their songs. They didn't even own any of any of their musical instruments.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
they contacted the New York firm that I joined later. I wasn't a member when they first contacted the New York firm, and that New York firm brought major litigation against Alan Klein and excised them from his management. And he kept, as a settlement of that lawsuit, he kept some of the early copyrights, including, unfortunately, Satisfaction.
Wow. That's like
So later when they toured, they didn't play it.
I can that is incredible. Yeah, they
till
we don't own
very
it.
till very 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 late. I think in the 80s, 1980s, late 80s, early 90s, they put Satisfaction back into the show.
Wow. That's t when we're talking 20 years.
Oh yeah,
That's-
yeah. They were incredible. They're still around. I mean, I
oh
just
yeah, true,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, they performed not too long ago.
The Stones have been spent decades operating at a level of fame that most people can't comprehend, but does that amount of fame cause unique legal problems?
Oh, oftentimes, yeah, it
Mm.
does because they're attacked from time to time for a variety of different reasons because they just are who they are, and they unfortunately they're a bit of a target, and but they also have an attitude that kind of leads to that a little bit, if you will.
The famous story, I believe it was Altamont.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Altamont. That's in my second book.
oh, that's in your second book. Okay.
Right, the second book. Hey, by the way, Jim, the second book just came out last week.
Oh, and this is the title again. Give me the new title.
The new title is Legends, Laws, Legacy dash. Where did I leave off?
Ah, okay. So
It's the second in a series, so it continues on.
I see.
So
Okay.
the Altamont story is actually in book two. In book one, I talk about the time and particular with Fordyce, Arkansas, and
Uh-huh.
what took place down there when they were on their tour of the Americas. But then in book two, I spoke to Altamont.
Can we go into that just for a moment? I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but is there anything you can share about the Altamont?
Well,
Because
it was a horrible, horrible situation because it resulted in four deaths. One of the one person actually drowned in a ditch at this concert festival, and two people died in an automobile accident.
mm,
And one guy
was
was
was shot,
approaching.
was he?
Well, he was approaching the stage with a gun,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the Hell's Angels security guards killed him
It killed him. Yeah, I mean, it's
with a
like,
knife.
yeah.
And what happened, and one of the things that I wrote about is at the end of the day, the Hell's Angel security guard was acquitted.
hmm
They said he was acting in self-defense because the guy who wound up being killed by the guard was brandishing a gun, and
Yes.
he was going after Mick Jagger,
Yeah.
apparently.
If you rent the movie Gimme Shelter,
Yep,
you can see it firsthand. They've got a
there he
real,
is.
yeah.
And what I finished off that chapter with was a discussion of the fact that in addition to all of the hoopla that went on with the criminal activity and the death and so forth, the Rolling Stones were actually sued for wrongful death. The the parents of the deceased person who was brandishing the gun and who died in the situation, they sued the Rolling Stones and said, but for their crazy music and their drug use and their attitude and all this, that never would have happened. Well, that got thrown out. We got
I would think so. I would
yeah,
hope so.
we got
Yes.
it thrown out.
That's bring a gun, but hey, it's your fault. Okay.
Yeah, really.
Now, some of the musicians that you have dealt with, I mean, because you're not limited to Hollywood actors. I mean, Bill Withers, you had a real close relationship with him.
Oh yeah, Bill was
And yeah,
special, very special guy.
that's what I was going to ask you. What made it so special?
Well, he was extremely talented, a great songwriter, great performer, but he was also a gentleman and he had a great sense of humor and a great presence. I mean, he would be asked by a lot of different people, celebrities in the sports world and elsewhere, to speak. And he would get up and give these have these, got to get rid of this. Hang on a second.
Sure.
He would he would speak and present. He had an incredible sense of humor. One of the chapters, one of the, I'll just put that on.
That's okay.
I'll just turn it off.
No problem.
Yeah, but it's kind of disturbing. Uh, yeah, well, neither do I. I'll get rid of it. There we go. Power off. No, I'm sorry.
That's
The,
okay.
for example, I can tell you in the second book, I tell the couple of the stories that he shared with me that are just incredible. They're very, very funny. He had a wonderful sense of humor. He did a show with it was actually an interview for ASCAP, the Music Performance Royalties Society, and Justin Timberlake was on the panel with him and they were discussing this and that and the other thing. And he told a great story that he made up about Justin Timberlake. It broke the place up. He also he also was straightforward. He was in the Navy right out of high school. He went into the Navy and he knew I was in the Navy. And so we had an old sailor's lunch one time that went on for 4 or 5 hours. It was great. He had all kinds of stories. Wonderful man. Wonderful.
I want to pull back the curtain a little bit on the entertainment business because, when someone's watching a movie or a concert, they just see the finished product.
Right.
What's happening behind the scenes that most people don't even consider.
Well, there's a lot of just getting ready and getting the thing set up takes a tremendous amount of work and a lot of different people involved. I can tell you, for example, when the Rolling Stones came and toured the United States, and I was involved in setting up lawyers in every venue city. I had lawyers that I could contact in case there was a problem. So I spent hours and hours arranging for lawyers to be available 24/7 on whenever the Stones were in their city, they had to be available. And in those days, there were no cell phones. So I had home phone numbers and office private numbers and so forth. And we actually had to use some attorneys in Kansas City. What happened was the Stones opened up in Baton Rouge, and what the a bunch of counterfeiters were there
Oh,
selling knockoff programs, shirts, caps, and so forth. And they set themselves up outside the venue so that when people would be approaching, they'd go to these counterfeiters before they got to the real stuff inside. And I got a call from the road manager, Peter Rudge, his name was, and he said, "We got to do something about this." Well, they were in Baton Rouge, and the next performance was going to be in Dallas Fort Worth. I didn't have enough time, but after Dallas Fort Worth, they were going to be in Kansas City. So I called up the guys in Kansas City and I said, "Get ready." And they were. And they went into federal court, got an injunction, and went out to the venue and with three or four marshals and collected all the counterfeit stuff.
very good, very
Shut them
good.
down. Shut them down. That's the kind of stuff that goes on behind in the background.
And what is the one mistake that young entertainers should never make when signing a contract?
Say, what's that again?
What is the one mistake that the young entertainers should never make when signing a contract?
Never do it without talking to a lawyer. That's the best advice I could give you. Uh, there's also the problem that exists, which is called the amateur contract. Excuse me, the amateur contract. If you're unknown and you're breaking into the business, you're going to get a contract that is very, very one-sided in
Oh,
favor of whomever. They could be the record label, the movie company, the television company. They don't know who you are, so they're going, and you don't have any real clout, so you get the amateur contract. But
right.
even the amateur contract has to be looked over by an experienced attorney to get rid of some of this stuff that really, really is over the top and must be
Has
removed.
has the addition of nowadays you have social media
Oh yeah,
and now AI coming out.
yes.
Does that pose a danger, or is that could that be helpful?
Well, it's a two-edged sword.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, there's many good uses, but just like everything else that's ever been humanly created, it can be used for good, and then there are those who will take advantage of it for other purposes. And it bothers me. AI bothers me. There's circumstances under which people are using AI instead of lawyers.
Yeah.
They're walking into a dangerous situation from my point of view. Of course, I'm prejudiced. I think everybody should be represented by a competent attorney if they have an issue, if they have a legal issue. But some of the stuff that I've seen that is generated by AI, that you can tell that it's been gleaned from some information someplace, but it doesn't have that positive human uh, resilience that is necessary to get points across and to apply the law and the facts properly.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, Claire, I'm really happy to join me today on Light Camera Author. The first book is Attorney to the Stars, a memoir, and the
Correct?
second one is uh, Law. Give it to me again.
Legends, laws, legacy. Where did I leave off?
And they're both by Clair Burrill, who was my guest today. And Claire, I really want to thank you for being on Light Camera Author.
Jim, anytime. And as a matter of fact, if you watch carefully, you'll find out that book three is underway.
All right. I hope to have you back for that, okay?
But absolutely, I'd love it.
Great. Well, everybody, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. In the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a QR code that you can scan and it will take you to the book's publisher page. So remember to do that. And
There's
also,
also, Jim, if I might,
yes,
you can also go to claireburrillauthor.com.
actually, that's where the QR code is going to take you.
Okay, good.
So that'll be great.
All right.
So we'll see you next time on Light Camera Author.